Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lacey. I am the owner of Milky Candles and I make videos about life in my 30s. I'm now 2 years deep into my business and there are so many things that I still don't know. But I'm gonna talk to you about the things that I have gone through and I think the steps that should be taken into consideration at the very least. Now, this is not legal advice. However, it is the background work of starting a business, right? It's not about finding product and selling, but it's more so about what are the steps that I need to take in order to figure out if my name has been taken or if I need to pay taxes to the state and things like that. I also want to say this is different for every state. So you have to do your research. The answers are not easy to find. You just have to sort of go for it and ask the right questions, even if it's to someone that you're not even sure if you should be asking them this question. Before you even start your business, you think of a name, you need to make sure that that name is not taken and that it is not trademarked. So whatever name that you think that you want to operate under, if it's a name other than yours, your legal name, then you need to research and see if it has already been taken. That is the first step, because you never want to have something that's too similar to somebody else that they could possibly come for you about it. You also want to make sure that the actual domain is not taken. So for example, my company website is www.milkycandlecompany.com. I had to make sure that milkycandlecompany.com was actually not taken, because even if someone didn't trademark Milky Candle Company, but they still had a domain for it, I would not be able to have that domain, and that would make it harder for people to find my website. Number two, consider how you are going to file for your business. Technically, there are three options, but the two that I see that come up the most is either an LLC or sole proprietorship. I did not do sole proprietorship. I went straight for the LLC. A sole proprietorship means that your company is owned by one person, that is you. You would file under a doing business as if you wanted to work under a name other than, again, your legal name. So for example, my name is Lacey Jones. If I were to go for a sole proprietorship, I didn't want to work under Lacey Jones and I wanted to work under Milky Candles, then I would file doing business as Milky Candles. This is recommended for people who are just starting out for various reasons. I didn't care enough about those reasons to do further research for myself personally, because I knew that I just wanted to be an LLC, specifically because I wanted my personal assets to be separated from my business assets. An LLC separates business owner from personal life, so that's specifically what I wanted. That means that I'm technically a member of my business, even though I am the owner, and I'm not personally responsible for like my business debts and liabilities. This made more sense to me because further down the road, I do want to be able to hire employees. I didn't want to have to file again as something else. It just seemed a little bit more of a simpler process. And I do think that the taxes for being an LLC versus having a sole proprietorship are pretty different. Also, as an LLC member, I don't have to pay myself and keep track of my own payroll. But if I were to file as a sole proprietorship, then I would have to legally pay myself and I would have to keep track of that, those payments that I give myself, that income from that. I've never filed taxes as a sole proprietorship, but I know that as an LLC, when I file my taxes, it's here's the money that came in, here's the money that was spent on materials, and then everything else is technically considered my income. Number three, look up any of the documents that you are going to need for your business. This is usually for your Secretary of State. Usually you can find that information on the website for your state Secretary of State. So you'll want to go to your state's government business webpage. Honestly, if you just get on Google and you type in register my business in, fill in the state, register my business in California, register my business in Ohio, you will find a lot of helpful links that will pop up. And don't be afraid to reach out to your Secretary of State and see if you're doing the right thing. I personally went through LegalZoom to have them form the documents for me. I was getting my ducks in a row. I don't think that you have to do that, especially because it is an expense, although I got to say that it was a business expense. But they were really helpful. They even notified me that in my specific county, I had to publish my business in a newspaper within like 60 days of forming my business. LegalZoom is also my registered agent. I have to have a registered agent, and what that means is there has to be someone who is available within business hours all the time. They must be accessible within business hours, which doesn't seem like that could always be me. I legally have to have one through an LLC, and so I chose LegalZoom for that. So I actually pay them $249 a year for them to be my registered agent. It could be me, but there's a lot of like different criteria that you have to hit in order to be a registered agent for your own business. Essentially, it is a physical location where if the law or the government needs to serve you in any sort of way, like papers or a lawsuit or anything like that, then they take it on your behalf and then they notify you of it. Again, that could be me, but there are so many different criteria that I felt safer having LegalZoom do it for me, just because of the fact that like I'm not always at my physical business location, which is my home, during all business hours. There are times when we're going out and doing events and I might not actually be here. So most LLCs will end up hiring like a business attorney or some sort of legal service. It's not uncommon for it to not be the owner of the business as the registered agent. And remember that different states have different regulations, but in Phoenix, Arizona and Maricopa County, that is something that I had to do. The next thing to consider is that you need to have a physical address when you register for your business. So it cannot be a PO box. That is one thing. I went to a local UPS and actually opened up a mailbox there. I paid $360 for a whole year. I think I got a medium sized mailbox, but honestly, you don't need to get a large one. I thought about getting a larger one because I was like, wait a second. I am gonna have people probably have packages brought back if like the address was invalid or something like that. And so I got nervous about it not fitting in my mailbox. Pro tip, if you get a package and it doesn't fit in your mailbox, they put a slip in your mailbox instead. They hold the package for you at the counter and they send you a text and let you know that you had a package that was just delivered to you. And so you'll go in, you'll take the slip out of your mailbox, you'll bring it to the person at the desk and you'll say, I'm just picking up a package. You'll sign for it and you're gone. I do not feel the need at this moment to have a bigger mailbox and pay more money for a bigger mailbox. But you do have to have an address. I also wasn't comfortable with having my home address be my address simply because porch pirates have been up and coming more now than ever, and I just wanted it in a secure locked mailbox that was in a secure building. Once you have all of your documents together, you file with your Secretary of State, you will then get an employee identification number, so an EIN. That is the number that you will use to go open up like your business bank accounts. I highly recommend that you do that because you do not want to be audited by the IRS, and I would very, very, very much encourage you to make sure that everything that you are purchasing is being tracked so that when it comes time for taxes, those numbers match up very similarly. So if you're going to go out to lunch in the middle of a work day and you are working, then yes, you can obviously put that on your company credit card, or debit card. I didn't get a credit card, I just got a debit card. And that is, something that you are using within your business. But if it's just like a random Saturday and you want to go out to lunch or you want to go buy a new pair of shoes or whatever, make sure that you are putting that on your personal bank account, because again, you never want to be audited by the IRS. It would be helpful for you to set up a few different like checking or savings accounts. One should be maybe for like shipping fees. Another one should be for putting 30% of whatever you make aside for taxes. Another one should be spending money on like supplies and raw materials, things like that. So it would be really helpful if you had like different accounts within the same, whatever you call it, within the same bank. And actually, there are some really helpful videos on YouTube about how many bank accounts should I have for my business. And I highly recommend looking those things up because it is very helpful. For right now, I only have one checking, one savings. That seems to work well for me, but it could be a lot easier, I think, if I were to open up more. Something I forgot to include in this video is once you actually register your business, before you start making any sales, you actually need to see if in your state you need to apply for a TPT, transaction privilege tax license, because if you are going to start collecting taxes on behalf of the state, then you need to make sure that you are paying those taxes back to the state. You'll have to do your own research on that because each state is different and has their own thresholds, and some states say that you only need to collect taxes for people who are purchasing within your state unless you meet certain thresholds in other states. It's just kind of messy, but I highly, highly, highly suggest that you do that before you make any sales, because you want to make sure that you are not withholding tax from your state. The next thing you want to do is, once you have your EIN, you have your bank account open, you're going to want to choose a website. You're going to want to choose like an actual platform to launch your website or a service. I use Wix. I enjoy Wix, but I'm not going to stick with Wix forever just because they've made a couple changes lately that I don't necessarily love. I pay $370 a year for that. I put that in my calendar so that I know whenever it's going to come up. And so I have Wix, a service that I pay for, and then I pay for my domain. So remember, the domain is the milkykandlecompany.com. So although that website is through Wix, those things are paid for separately. Wix, to operate under Wix, is $370 a year for me. Those prices may have changed. I might be grandfathered in, I don't know. But then having my domain is $25 a year. And whichever platform or whichever service that you use, whether it's Shopify, Wix, or there's so many others out there, my mind is kind of drawing a blank right now, but whichever one you choose, you should be offered your domain. They should ask you, oh, so this is, now you're gonna set this up and this is how much it costs. If you're using Etsy, that's obviously a whole different ball game, but this is for really just creating your own website, which I do enjoy having both, for those of you that are curious. I love having my website and I love having Etsy for various reasons. But the next thing that you need to do after that is get business insurance. This, for whatever reason, was a lot more difficult than I was anticipating, specifically because a lot of people or a lot of business insurances don't want to have like candle manufacturers. Now, if I were buying my candles from somebody else and I was like dressing them up and selling them, then it would have been easier for me to find business insurance. I don't understand the logic behind that, but that is what I found to be true. Once I finally found a place that was like, yeah, we're fine with candle manufacturers, candle manufacturers and retailers, then I was like, oh, I also sell room sprays. And they were like, no, never mind. We revoke. Stay on the line, we're gonna give you to somebody else. So because I don't have any employees right now, and because I actually work out of my home and I don't have like a manufacturing warehouse that also would be an expense, I pay $330 a year for Next Insurance. Once you do that, it's really important to keep track of so many different things. Number one, you want to keep track of your inventory. Number two, you want to keep track of how much money you are making and you are spending. I highly recommend getting Inventora for inventory. It's amazing because you can put your materials, like raw materials, on there, and then the products. There's a lot of information about Inventora out there that I won't go through in this video, but I highly recommend it. It's changed the game for me and I don't have to guess all of the time. It also helps you understand how you should probably price your product because it breaks down how much the raw materials are, and then you should figure out the math on how you then want to sell your product after that. So here's what I do. I have an Excel spreadsheet through my Google Drive, and I have it all color coordinated and I have it in different categories. So I have an advertising category, I have a raw materials category, I have a shipping cost category, I have a product packaging category, I have so many different categories. And the reason for that is because when it comes to tax season, those categories are going to be very important because your tax preparer or you are going to want that. I actually do this at the end of every month. I say, this is how much money I made, this is how much money I spent, and that way when it comes to the end of the year, I have all of my months separated. And I just choose like the last couple of days of the month. I have my suppliers that I always go to, and so I know exactly where I spent my money. I will download a CVS on my, which is essentially like kind of like a statement, I guess, on my business bank account, and I'll make sure that those numbers match up. That's how I know how much I spent on shipping. That's how sometimes I'll see like, oh wait, I spent this much more money at Amazon, but what did I buy? And it's like, oh, because this time I bought shelves for my office, right? And so that would be considered like an office expense, but not office supplies, which are, again, two separate categories. It's important to help you know how much it costs to make your product. It's important to let you know how much you're spending, how much you're making. And it also reminds you like, okay, you spent a lot of money this month in comparison to how much money you made. So like, let's pivot for next month. Additionally, for taxes, and I'm just gonna throw this little chunk, I don't like that word, but I'm gonna throw it in here. You need to take the amount of inventory that you started for the year and hold that number in like dollar amounts. So if you had 25 candles or 25, whatever that you are selling, how much in materials does that cost? So you'll have to make sure that you know how much each item costs in materials. You will need that dollar amount at the start of the year, and then how much was left over at the end of the year, because your tax preparer will also need that information. Again, whether that's you or somebody else. And then additionally, I would just take whatever product you are selling, research it. What is the market that you need to slide into? There are a lot of Black, queer, and woman-owned businesses out there, especially for candle making, and I have been told time and time again that my cement vessels that I make myself really set me apart from other candle makers. I am not I don't know. I'm not really a competitive person by nature. You can probably tell by the fact that like I don't gatekeep information, but I do understand the value of being unique. And so just think about, yes, this is what you see on the market, but what can you do that is a little bit of a spin that makes it different, that could target a completely different audience maybe. Additionally, it helps you understand how you should price your product. Whether you want to be on like the luxury high end, if you want to be on like the super affordability end, it just depends. Just depends. That is all I have for this video. I hope that you found it incredibly helpful. If you have questions, please put them down below. I do not know everything of everything, that is for sure. I do highly suggest that you just do a lot of your own research, and if you start to see certain things come up on multiple different pages, then it's probably true. One skill that you really have to develop as a business owner is to be able to do your own research, to be able to fact check. People can answer questions for you all day and all night, but you never know if it's actually for your state. You never know if it's for your specific business. As a business owner, you have to have this like with itness, and you have to have this skill of diving into all of the know-abouts for your business. I don't even know if know-abouts is a thing, because whereabouts is the thing, but I don't know if know-abouts is a thing. That is not to say do not ask questions, because obviously I'm on the internet and I have put myself in the position to be someone who knows a little bit about something and can provide answers to like some capacity. But again, I just think that there's so much value that you are going to be able to utilize and like sharpen that skill of doing research, because honey, you're gonna need it. Okay, bestie? You're gonna need it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, because it helps YouTube understand that like I'm the shit. And I love you even if you don't love me back, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.